This was the Green Oval Guild's December 2020 holiday run. We had so many people that showed up for it, we had to split off into two groups. Our group was jokingly called the Potential Body Damage Group, and unfortunately that proved to be the case, as two of us, myself and my mom, suffered body damage on our vehicles. There was a lot of winching. There was an epic stump removal, and we got to roll that all the way down into a valley after it was winched out and cut out. Lady Run starts out easy enough going down into Salt Creek, where Chris is driving right now. For the past couple years, that had been pretty heavily filled with mud, and we hadn't been running this trail because it was very difficult to get through this section. However, this past summer, we decided to go down and investigate this again, and turns out it's very easy to get down into this trail. You can get right down into the creek bed. It looks worse than it actually is in the truck. The side of the truck doesn't even rub on the hill here. The whole time I was running the trails this weekend, I also had my older GoPro Hero 3 running in the back, so I got to capture rear footage. So I've got some great footage of my mom running in the LR4 behind me, and you can see what it looks like when a vehicle goes down into these ruts. It's not actually that bad. It seems more dramatic than it actually is, but it's definitely fun going down into this creek. Driving along in the river is very scenic here. There isn't really very much deep water, so it's kind of fun. You drive out onto like a gravel sandbar that is pretty solid, lots of packed in rock, and makes a great place to have some photos, air down, and then get ready to cross over and head up the trail. Heading up the trail on the other side is pretty easy. Again, you're going through pretty shallow water. Makes for some great photos. And it looks dramatic while you go up the bank, and it does tip over in the ruts a little bit. But again, there's no real possibility of getting any truck damage here. You basically just drive through here and there's no issue. Now you can actually see a trail to the left here, and that looks like that's an easy bypass around the hill where we're going to. Now the way we're going is the right-of-way of Lady Run. So the way up through there is technically private property. I see it's getting a lot of use. Here's a great shot from the rear, seeing the trucks in the river. This is fun watching the rear camera and the horizon tip back and forth. Have a good shot of the LR4 here, and I think it's going to get some airtime on the front tires. But she doesn't have any trouble making it through there. Now this is Chris heading up the hill. You can see the rock ledge on the left, and that is difficult to get up. Chris has been up that side. I actually show that in another video. And there's one more way up through the middle, but it's got a very deep rut, which is going to throw your truck onto its passenger side. This is the easy bypass, and generally it's not too much trouble. But I think as the trucks went up through it and started to spin up on it, it kind of degraded the trail as people went up and over it. Tom was next in line, and he actually had a mechanical problem where he had his air intake had come loose, and he was just getting no power in his engine. Now the trick here going up the trail is to straddle this V, and you have to aim at that tree and look like you're about to hit it, and then you turn kind of at the last minute. That straddles right over top of it. And then here you just need to keep going, and up at the top you need to make a pretty decent run at this little hump up here to make it over top of this. And if you let off, you'll get stuck. So I think I had such an easy time of it because I was only the second truck to go up. My mom's tires on the LR4 are just racing slicks at this point. And those are KO2s, but they are not ejecting the mud. They just were giving her no traction. We had to winch her all the way up. It takes a little bit of power to get over the edge of this. This is Matt, and he had to take off because he had a coolant leak. We get a little air time during the winching here. I think the trail's just so torn up at this point and just so spun up with mud that nobody's getting any traction on it. Especially if you don't hit that V correctly at the beginning of the trail. If you fall into the V, it just spins up mud. You can see those tires are just getting filled with mud. And again, up at the top, it was really difficult. If you couldn't get a run, you just didn't have any traction to get up over this hump. And you can just see the mud spinning in those tires.
He has a lot of experience wheeling.
And then of course we have a Lexus, a monster Lexus. It's all right. He's right on the line, right on the line. He nailed it.
Oh my God! He didn't get stuck there. Can I buy that one? Freaking Lexus. He'll sell it to you. He'll build another. He owns the shop.
Runs right up this hill with no problems at all. The only reason he stops up at the top, he did not know that he had to make a run at the end. So he just didn't have enough momentum, or he would have just walked over that too. It doesn't take much for this thing to come up though. It's a really cool truck. Now that everybody's made it up the hill, we're starting to head up Lady Run, and our next obstacle is going to be a stump that sticks out into the middle of the trail. We had encountered that stump earlier in the summer. A few trucks had taken some scrapes on it on the side. I'd actually been by it once in this direction and didn't take any damage. I had a few inches between the side of the truck and the stump when I went through it the last time. So Chris is trying to go high on the side of the trail to avoid the stump. And the rear driver's side quarter panel is right over where this stump protrudes out into the trail. He's just getting his truck around it. And I'm going to try the exact same maneuver, and I'm going to fail. And the side of my truck just slid sideways, and the stump actually punctures the side of the window. It was almost a circular hole in the glass when I looked at it. So here I go, thinking I can pull off the same maneuver that Chris did. Again, I've been through this before. And again, Vinton County is about to destroy another one of my windows. My mom coming up the trail behind me. And now they're trying to get my mom off of it, so got a bunch of guys that are trying to push the truck up so that she can back up. And now we're pulling the stump out with a winch. And unfortunately, we had tried with my mom's winch, and while it had worked getting her up the hill, just, you know, half hour earlier, for whatever reason, the winch stopped working. So now we need to look at that. And here you can see the damage on the side of the vehicle from the stump. So we've got a new door on order, and the glass will have to be pulled and the quarter panel repaired and the glass reseated. So now after the stump's gone, you can actually see my mom make it by there with relatively little trouble. And you can actually see that nothing contacts on the side of the truck now anymore. Even with the truck at that angle, there's nothing there to hit the side of the truck anymore. And I've synced up the front and rear GoPros here. This makes for some fun video. We're heading into some more fun ruts up here. And this is fun to watch the camera views flip-flop. Got a nice view of the power lines here, and there are a lot of trails that go over those power lines. Now we're getting up into the woods, some more mud, some snow. Have to go on a bypass at the end of this trail, and the bypass goes around some very, very large pits that are pretty deep now, and even the bypass itself was extremely slippery on this day. Lots of mud, so you have just enough room to skirt the edge of this pit. See, my mom's coming along, and I think she has her wheel on the edge of that pit. She's too far over, and she's gonna slide sideways. And she calls on the radio, and I stop and back up because I think I'm gonna have to pull her out. And she drives up out of it. And you get up to the end here, and it is very messy, very muddy. And there's a little bit of a hill you have to kind of climb up while you're turning at the same time. Now I'll see my mom coming up behind me. And her tires are just so loaded up, she tries to make it and she slips sideways. Everybody else does pretty good going over this, a little slipping. Charles goes a bit sideways here. It's actually kind of cool looking. And they decided to have some fun in the mud pits. And that mud pit is very deep on the passenger side. Charles dunks the front of the Rover in over the bonnet. If you enjoyed the first part of our December adventure, please subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for part 2. Thank you for watching.